The Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime show has people losing their mind. This halftime show, in my opinion, is just another example as to how stan culture has completely ruined hip hop. Stan culture has made people mentally ill. No, truly, people are mentally sick and unstable because of this newly adopted stan culture. This Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef has broken the people, bruh. It has made people mentally ill and sick. You truly got to understand exactly how mentally ill the consumers are when this beef took place. Because this beef has taken out the expectation of civility from out of hip-hop discourse, bro. Remember the days, those good old lunch table conversations, when we used to sit and argue about who the best rapper in hip-hop is, who's the greatest of all time, what was album of the year. Those conversations in the cafeteria was enjoyable. And that's where a lot of us found our love for the culture and our love for hip-hop, was having to debate who we thought was the greatest, what we thought was good or not, and having to go home and do our research and come back prepared. But unfortunately, what we once loved about hip-hop discourse is no longer. There's no purity to this. There's no nuance to this. It's straight up stan culture. And the Kendrick Lamar performance is an example of that. Because when you look online trying to figure out exactly what the temperature is surrounding that performance, there's no real objectivity. There's no middle ground here going on. No, it's simply two sides of stan culture arguing back and forth, being completely polarizing in their takes on this. And it will almost be impossible to figure out what the general consensus is, because both sides are so polarizing that there's really no middle ground surrounding this performance. So I'm going to try my best in this video to really provide what I believe the general consensus is for this Kendrick Lamar performance. Just fair warning, because I know it's coming. If you are a stan who's incapable of hearing objectivity, this video ain't for you. Just click off now, bruh. All right, do you understand? Click off is not for you, bruh. I don't want your view. Okay, just so we're clear. Okay, so if you're somebody who absolutely hate Kendrick Lamar, this video is not for you, because we're gonna be objective. If you're somebody who want Kendrick Lamar's meat in your mouth and you just a D-Rider, this isn't for you, because we're gonna be objective here. All right. So save yourself the headache if you're somebody who lacked the brain power to be objective, because you are a D-Riding stan. People on both sides of the fence are loony. There are some people who would say with a straight face, the more I watch it, the more I notice. Dozens of the world's greatest artists have graced the stage, and none of these performances hold a candle to Kendrick Lamar. The message is going over a lot of people's heads, but that was really the best halftime show of all time. Yo, there are some people who would really say with a straight face that Kendrick Lamar halftime performance was better than Michael Jackson's halftime performance, right? Clearly loony. Clearly that's not the case, but you don't have to lie. And there are some people who are also on the opposite end of the spectrum who are also loony, who take to social media to just hate, right? They will say Kendrick Lamar breaks the record for the worst halftime show ever. It's not, all right? It's not even the worst halftime show within the last 5 years. It's definitely better than Rihanna's halftime show, all right? It will go, it's Kendrick Lamar running from the worst halftime show in Super Bowl history. Clearly, that's not true. Neither is true. It's not the best of all time, and it's not the worst of all time. But what's currently going on is, because of the stan war that was already going on, then you compile that with Kendrick Lamar being used as a political pawn on both sides of the fence, you're gonna have a lot of strong opinions, because people now believe that this is more than just critiquing a halftime performance. This is people political ideology. The theme of the halftime performance was the game of America. He had Samuel L. Jackson play Uncle Sam, which represents America. He had the stage design as a PlayStation controller. The performance had a lot of woke messaging, if you may. Like during the performance, Kendrick Lamar would have Samuel L. Jackson tell him to behave, be a good boy, don't really disrupt things too much. And Kendrick Lamar would blurt out things like the revolution would be televised, essentially sticking his thumb up at the system. As a fan of hip hop, I love that he tried to instill messaging in his performance. So I think it was courageous. I think it was really cool. But you know who don't like woke messaging in the product that is the NFL? the NFL good old boy club, right? The NFL conservative audience, which is the majority of them. Ex Colin Kaepernick, how that particular audience ran him out the league for messaging. Well, those people was very vocal. They said, leave it to a woke rapper to ruin a Super Bowl halftime show. DEI halftime show.
All right, y'all, I'm sorry. Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl was whack. That was one of the worst halftime shows in recent memory. First of all, Kendrick Lamar is not mainstream. Like, people do not know those songs. The white people at the Super Bowl party that I was with, he may as well have been speaking Mandarin.
Because he took what some may say a woke stance, you already have a portion of the NFL fans who are watching the Super Bowl who are very active and have a very robust community on social media. They're already anti you and against you because those people hate anything they believe is woke, they believe is DEI, they believe is pro-black, they hate it all. It wouldn't have mattered if Kendrick Lamar got on that stage and rapped 10 songs that they could resonate with and they absolutely loved. They would have gotten on social media and let the world know how much they hate you because they believe you was trying to push the woke agenda. And then Kendrick Lamar didn't really do himself any favors with middle of America. This track list did him no favors with the people from middle of America, people from the Midwest to the suburbs of Ohio who just want to hear music they recognize, they can resonate with. So when you go with an untitled GNX trailer song and Squabble Up and Humble, DNA Euphoria, Man of the Garden, Peekaboo, Luther, All the Stars, Not Like Us, and TV Off, 7 out of the 11 songs were songs from his album GNX. When Kendrick Lamar dropped GNX, he told the world that GNX was for the West Coast. It was catered to his West Coast audience. This was a niche project to represent where he came from. This wasn't a project intended for the world to understand or for the world to even listen to. This was for the coast, West Side. If you admittedly made the album for the West Coast audience and for them solely, then why in the world would you play these songs on the Super Bowl stage? You have very smart people around you. So Kendrick Lamar, you know that this was going to isolate the overwhelming majority of the audience at the halftime show. These people can't resonate with the niche-based sound that is GNX. And you know this because you said it yourself. So these people are watching the halftime performance, not really understanding what's going on, not understanding the energy, the lingo, the nothing. And these songs are unfamiliar with them. So what you have is best case scenario, these people say, yeah, I don't really understand it, but I can recognize art and I can recognize creativity. And I know he's doing a good job, but it's just not for me. Worst case scenario, these people say, this sucks. He stunk it up. Nobody would ever in their right mind listen to a song like this. That's worst case scenario. And you know what happens when you put a polarizing message, you already incentivize one group of people to hate you. Then you have the bulk of the people not really understanding what you're trying to get across because the music ain't really getting across to them. You have those people saying, yeah, this is not for me, this is mid. The crowd's reaction is how you determine what a good show is. And you could tell about the crowd's reaction that the music wasn't resonating with them at all. This isn't a we hate Kendrick thing. It's just not. People who like Kendrick, like Kai Cenat, who had SZA on, who was very pro TDE, who went out of his way to determine that Kendrick Lamar won the Drake beef and told the world. Kai Cenat himself came on his stream and he stated that while in attendance, the crowd was silent and that the NFL actually inserted crowd noise to make the performance look more lively because people could not relate or resonate with what was being played.
Kendrick Lamar came out. Word to my mother. If anybody was there, y'all knew it was. Y'all knew it. Y'all felt it. Crowd was making no noise. This is me being honest. I was there. The loudest times that they made, the loudest time that the crowds did was, I think him being shown for the first time, SZA, Samuel Jackson being shown for the first time, and then They Not Like Us. Now, I honestly feel like some of the songs he should have switched out for more. You feel me? For like another song or some shit. Like there's some songs on there that I was like, damn, he could have switched that out for like this. This would have been fire here. This would have fire been there, right? But one thing I will say though, although the vibes was not good, crowd was not good. I don't even think like, bro, they were just not fucking with the performance. Like up until They Not Like Us. But what I will say is the symbolism behind that performance was top tier. I'm not gonna lie. I paid attention to like the setting. Okay, oh my God, they add sound effects to the NFL shit. Oh my fucking God. All right, so right here, there was no sound. I just heard crowd sounds. All my life right here, there was no sounds. Fuck, they add crowd effects? I did not know that.
Do I feel like Kendrick Lamar woke up today distraught that Middle of America didn't like his performance? Absolutely not, bruh. Kendrick Lamar got up on that stage knowing what he wanted to do, knowing what he wanted to convey. And if Middle of America weren't in his plans, he don't care. But what I do disagree with, though, is when you have people like Hot 97, when they come online and they stated that people are upset because Kendrick Lamar didn't sell out. It's not about selling out. And I do think they're absolutely wrong about this, and we're going to explain why. Ebro, Lauren Styles, Rosenberg, they discussed the backlash that Kendrick Lamar has been getting for his Super Bowl performance.
And you say, Ebro, why do you say that? That's what the Super Bowl is for. That's what people get out there and do. They get up there and they play everyone's favorite songs. That's the job. Well, I've never known Kendrick Lamar to get up in front of people and just do what they expect. It's never happened. True. When did that happen? At what concert? At what award show? Where? Show me.
I think it dawned on me yesterday. It was like he literally now has made it. He's never compromised at any point.
Never.
Now, in his lack of compromising, he's become the biggest he's ever been, by far surpassing any expectation he ever even had. Why would he compromise now?
This is such an idiot take for several reasons. So to say that Kendrick Lamar being asked to perform hits that people resonate with, that he has, by the way, this isn't like Kendrick Lamar has to bring on other artists to perform their hits. No, Kendrick Lamar has hits that people would have heard and really understood or would have heard and been familiar with. So to say that Kendrick Lamar doing those hits would be him compromising himself or selling out is to say that you believe that Kendrick Lamar doing those songs in the first place is him being compromised. I don't feel like Kendrick Lamar performing Swimming Pool would be him being compromised. I don't feel like Kendrick Lamar performing Money Tree would be him being compromised. I don't feel like Kendrick Lamar performing Effing Problem will be him being compromised. I don't feel like Kendrick Lamar performing High Power will be him being compromised, right? Or even if you want to go into his more pop hits, right? Or hits collabs with bigger pop stars, right? He could have done that. So for you to say if him performing those songs is him compromising himself, then you believe that he already compromised himself by doing those songs in the first place with the pop records. But we don't believe that. So which is why this entire argument is very stupid, right? And is very small-minded. Right? You don't have to be a contrarian, bro. You don't have to go out of your way to do things that people dislike for you to keep your your integrity. That's not how this works, bro. All right. You come on the Super Bowl stage because they believe that your performance will cater to their audience, right? They believe that you'll be able to do the job of entertaining their audience for 12 minutes and 41 seconds. And if you don't do that, that's a problem.
Well, and by the way, remember the Super Bowl, they invite you. It's not like there's a petition to get selected or...
Unless you're Lil Wayne. Sorry, hit the button one more time. I'm sorry.
Wow. Why would you do that, man? What's wrong with you, bro? Come on, man. Come on, man. Why are you doing this? But, yeah, no, y'all invited me. I'm going to show up and do me.
Now, do you think the NFL considered in any way the idea that being involved in the Drake thing Like, if God forbid somehow something went left after this point, they could somehow be liable for it?
I don't know.
Yeah, at this point, they just filibustering, bro. When left, how? Like, you feel like Drake about to send goons to slide on Kendrick Lamar because the beef done escalated? No, that's not how this works, okay? But when you say they invited him, they expected him to be himself, that's the point. People are upset because they feel like Kendrick Lamar really was not himself. It felt like he was trying to cater to various demographics, but he just catered to the wrong demographic. Because Kendrick Lamar, like, essentially could have went several paths, right? If he dedicated all his energy to one or the other, I feel like it would have been a drastically better show. For example, Kendrick Lamar could have dedicated to the path of, I'm going to send a political message. The president is in the audience. He has my undivided attention for 12 minutes and 41 seconds. I'm the only performer that's performing in front of the president of the United States, and he has to listen to me for 12 minutes and 41 seconds. He could have went down the political route. He could have really like amplified the messaging. He could have really tell the president about the plights of the communities he come from, about the solutions that community needs. He could have really went straight Black Panther on them. Or he could have went the route of playing all hits, playing the biggest hits and really catering to the Super Bowl audience. Or he could have went the route of, the Drake beef, right? He could have made this performance all about Drake, solely focus on Drake to really stick it to Drake and really attack Drake. But when you try to do all three in some type of weird combination way, it comes across as not really that cohesive. It doesn't come across as something that's like a solid body of work. It comes across as all over the place. And people felt it. Even with the skits and the interludes, that was him mocking Drake or him alluding to Drake. Even that was sort of like, you don't really mix up those things with the messaging that we believe you were trying to convey. That's not really, like, those things don't really go together. All right? Like you hinting towards the Not Like Us song, you sort of doing another interlude about people suing. Like, that's not really something that really meshes well with the game of America. All right? Samuel L. Jackson dressing up as Uncle Sam, doing this entire theatrics, trying to include the Drake thing sort of fit awkwardly. You feel me? And that's why we would say he really wasn't himself, because he could have dedicated his brain power, his energy, his creativity to one or the other and have a drastically better Super Bowl show, right? And because he didn't really commit to one thing, it fell all over the place. Now, for hip-hop fans, though, Kendrick Lamar didn't play a song last night that you hated. If you're somebody who all your life is hip-hop, you've been in hip-hop your entire life, you're a consumer of the music, you breathe and live hip-hop, Kendrick Lamar didn't play a bad song last night. Every song that Kendrick Lamar played was amazing. And you probably had a good time. But when you're in person, in the crowd, you go off the energy. And if the energy is off, even though you might like the music, you still gonna receive it differently. Not picking a direction and sticking to it will have publications like the Daily Mail writing that your performance was the worst performance ever an hour after you was done. Like, this is bad. Now, usually the people who will be defending you, like the usual people like Bomani Jones, who will be defending your performance or defending you for choosing art over industry, even those people who watch your performance are coming on their podcast and sort of slow debuting like their hot take, which is they didn't enjoy the performance. This is one of Kendrick Lamar's biggest advocate, bro. This is Bomani. And even he has some critiques for Kendrick Lamar's halftime performance.
I bring that up to talk about Kendrick Lamar because I think there's levels that we could talk about this halftime show, okay? And if you want to view this halftime show as a continuation of the middle finger of Drake and you love nothing more than Drake receiving that middle finger. I don't know if you could have possibly asked for a better show. Like, he continued it to the point where and you guys know how I feel about this, I am like, okay, it's got to be over now, right? Like, he did the game over thing at the end, and I'm like, okay, I've had enough. I don't think there's anything else interesting that you can do with relation to your beef with Drake. I think
This is the prime example of the 48 Laws of Power, Law 47, I believe, which is never go past the mark you aim for. It felt like Kendrick Lamar, the underdog, slaying the giant that is Drake and becoming, the most popular, not the best rapper on the planet for now, right? It felt like a good story. It felt like a good, wholesome story. And, him doing certain things like attempting to drop on the same day that Drake was going to drop in November when he dropped GNX, okay, cool. Now the Super Bowl performance was, being like 6 months removed from the beef, people sort of felt like, all right, bro, you doing too much at this point. But I feel like he sort of had to do it. He sort of had to perform that record because it was such a big story surrounding that performance, was whether or not if he's gonna, perform that record or not, right? So I do feel like he sort of had to, but once you do that and sort of give Drake that much attention on that stage, people look at that and they feel sort of icky about it, which is what Bomandi is trying to express right now.
think you did it. You played your song at the end. You had Serena Williams out there crip walking to it. You did the whole thing, right? You got it. You dropped the say Drake. You talked about this cat thing about he want to sue you and everything else. You got all that. You demonstrated your defiance toward him in that moment, and you did that, okay? But if we're going to talk about the rest of the show, guys, I think that we can all be honest about this, okay? It reminded me of another Kendrick Lamar song that was not performed. I would say that the halftime show was all right. That was it. It was all right.
And that's the same sentiment that I share as well. I think people saying it's the worst ever, they're out of their mind. It's not. People saying it's the best ever, they're out of their mind. It's clearly not. All right. So I definitely agree. I feel like it was okay. It was mid. It was all right. And that's where I think a lot of people is currently is. And that's okay. All right. I feel like it being mid or it being just all right or just okay is a great accomplishment, because if you didn't really aim to cater to the masses or to the overwhelming majority, and this performance was truly only for your fans or a very specific niche of hip hop fans, and the majority of people who couldn't really relate to anything you said on that stage still left away saying it was okay, that's a W. So I don't feel like saying it's all right or it's okay, is a diss or anything to Kendrick Lamar.
All right. It was a good show. I can't use the term that I want to use because y'all take it the wrong way, but I'm going to say it. It was mid, right?
Absolutely.
But mid in the way those of us who used to have to deal with stems and seeds say mid, okay? It was a pretty good show. This is what it felt like to me, okay? It felt like a show maybe better suited for an arena in terms of energy, but it was a stadium show. I felt like I have seen Kendrick shows on award shows with like the Imagine Dragons behind him that I felt like had more energy than this show. I felt like the energy that he had when he did all right during the G-Funk Super Bowl, I thought that had more energy than this. And so, yeah, we can talk about all these cultural elements. We can talk about all the Easter eggs that he had in there and all of that stuff, right?
I always feel like that has to be secondary, though. Like the Easter eggs, that's secondary to the quality of the show. Meaning, and there are some Tupac songs I do feel like has this as well, right? To where The song itself is not a good song. It's mid. But because of the message, because of what Pac stood for, because of the messaging and the Easter eggs, people automatically associate that with, okay, this is a great song because it has Easter eggs, it has a good message, it has some hidden things to really uncover. No. The messaging, the Easter eggs, the things we can discover, those are secondary. Secondary to, was this thing good or not? If it was bad, the Easter eggs ain't gonna make it good. If it was good, the Easter eggs make it great.
The thing about a Super Bowl halftime show for me is that it's supposed to be big. It's supposed to feel grand. And it did not feel grand, right? I think the Beyonce show at halftime on Christmas was more of the scale of what a Super Bowl halftime show should be than this one was, right? If you switch those shows, I think the Kendrick would have worked well for the Christmas halftime and the Beyonce would have worked better for the Super Bowl halftime because she thought in the grandiose level that you need, I think, to put on a Super Bowl show, which is grandiose by definition. This, to me, was not a grand enough show. It wasn't about the songs. And people are like, he didn't even play his hits. Yes, he did. Humble is his biggest hit. He played that. He played DNA, which is right up there. He played that.
Humble is not is not his biggest hit, right? No. That's not true. All Right to me, All Right is bigger than DNA. I feel like All Right is bigger than Humble because All Right was literally like the anthem for every protest that took place, right, around the George Floyd. So I feel like All Right to me is a hit that if you played All Right, the entire stadium would react, you know?
He made the decision to play the new album, which, by the way, I don't think I really blame him for doing because I would imagine if he picked up any new fans in the course of the last 9 months, they would have been the people that was all over GNX. I don't love GNX like that, but it's not crazy the idea that he would play his most recent heat or what people think is his most recent heat. Yeah, all of that made sense in the song selection and everything else. I just felt like, you ever been to a party that just didn't have enough people? Not because there weren't people, but the room was too big, and so it didn't feel like the energy was contained?
Right. Back to the energy point that I just told you guys, right? You could be a rap fan who liked the songs that was going on, but you in that stadium, bruh, and the energy is down, people ain't really reacting to it. It just feels different. It just feels awkward, you know? But all in all, man, I feel like the performance was okay. It was all right. It was mid. It's not the best ever. It's not the worst ever. So this stan culture, this BS that, that y'all are now trying to like argue with or go to war about, bro. I feel like, it's a waste of time, bro. We can be honest, bro. All right. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't the worst ever, and it wasn't the best ever. Y'all let me know in the comment section, man. Hopefully, by the time we get to the end of this video, man, it's some sane people who are still watching, people who have a brain, people who are understanding, people who aren't really a part of that mentally ill stan crowd, bro, on both sides. Drake stans and Kendrick stans are mentally ill, man. Let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this, all right? And if you're still watching, click on this video somewhere on my screen, somewhere here, I believe, man. And if you click on this video, you will see my last video, which is why I believe that Kanye West's life is in danger. So click on this video here to find out what I'm talking about. Out of here, folks. Peace.